The shuttle landed on Station Meridian 7 with a soft hum. Una Park grabbed her single bag and stepped out into the docking bay. The air smelled clean, almost too clean, like it had been scrubbed of everything natural. She took a deep breath and felt her shoulders relax for the first time in months. The Galactic Academy was huge. Una had seen pictures, but nothing had prepared her for the real thing. Glass towers reached up toward artificial skies. Gardens floated on platforms between buildings. Thousands of aliens walked past her, some with scales, some with fur, some with shapes she could not even describe. None of them paid attention to her. That was fine. Una preferred it that way. A tall creature with 4 arms approached her. Its skin was pale blue, and its eyes were large and yellow. It wore a formal uniform with badges on the chest. "You must be the human transfer student," it said. "I am Administrator Trosses. Welcome to the Academy." Una bowed her head slightly. "Thank you. I am happy to be here." Trosses looked at her for a long moment. Una noticed the way its 4 hands twitched, the way its eyes kept moving to her arms and legs, studying her like she was something dangerous. She was used to this reaction. Everyone in the galaxy knew about Earth. "I have reviewed your file," Trosses said carefully. "Your homeworld is classified as a Category 9 death world. The highest rating possible." "Yes," Una said simply. "You survived a wildfire at age 12. You encountered a large predator at 15. Your region experiences regular earthquakes and storms." Trosses paused. "How are you still alive?" Una thought about the question. On Earth, it would have sounded strange. Everyone survived things like that. It was just normal life. But she understood that for most species in the galaxy, Earth was a nightmare planet. A world where everything wanted to kill you. "I was careful," she said. "And lucky." Trosses did not look convinced. "Well, you will find the Academy quite peaceful compared to your homeworld. We have strict rules against violence. Our environmental controls maintain perfect conditions at all times. You should be comfortable here." "That sounds nice," Una said. She meant it with her whole heart. Trosses led her through the Academy grounds, pointing out important buildings and explaining the rules. Una listened carefully and remembered everything. She had always been good at paying attention. On Earth, people who did not pay attention did not live very long. Her room was on the 4th floor of a residential building. It was small but clean, with 2 beds, 2 desks, and a window that looked out over a garden. Another student was already there, sitting on one of the beds. "This is Luna," Trosses said. "She will be your roommate." "Luna, this is Una. She is from Earth." Luna was an amphibian species with smooth green skin and large dark eyes. Her hands had webbed fingers, and she moved with a nervous energy that reminded Una of a small animal. When she heard the word Earth, her eyes went even wider. "A Deathworlder," Luna whispered. "A real Deathworlder." "I will leave you to get settled," Trosses said, and quickly left the room. Una put her bag on the empty bed and began to unpack. She did not have many things. A few sets of clothes, some books, a small photograph of her family back on Earth. She placed the photograph on her desk and looked at it for a moment. Her mother, her father, her younger brother. She missed them already. "Is it true?" Luna asked. Her voice was quiet and scared. "Is it true that on Earth, the water falls from the sky?" Una turned to look at her roommate. "Yes, we call it rain." "And the ground shakes? And fire spreads across the land?" "Sometimes. Not every day." Luna shook her head in amazement. "How do you survive?" "How does anyone survive on such a planet?" Una sat down on her bed. She had been asked this question many times since leaving Earth. She still did not have a good answer. For her, survival was not something special. It was just what you did. You woke up. You paid attention. You made good choices. You kept going. We adapt, she said finally. We learn. We help each other. Luna seemed to think about this. Slowly, some of the fear left her eyes. You do not seem very scary, she said. The stories about Deathworlders. They say you are all violent and dangerous. Some humans are violent, Yuna admitted. But most of us just want to live peaceful lives. We do not enjoy fighting. We do it only when we have to. When do you have to? Yuna looked out the window at the perfect garden below. No predators hiding in the bushes. No poisonous plants. No sudden storms. It was beautiful and safe and completely unlike anything she had known. When someone we love is in danger, she said, then we fight. And we do not stop until the danger is gone. Luna was quiet for a long time. Then she smiled, showing small teeth that were flat and harmless. I think I will like having you as a roommate, she said. You are honest. I can tell. Yuna smiled back. It felt strange on her face. She had not smiled much lately. Leaving Earth had been hard. Leaving her family had been harder. But sitting here in this small room with this nervous amphibian girl who was trying so hard to be brave, Yuna felt something warm in her chest. Maybe she could be happy here. Maybe she could finally rest. The first week passed quickly. Yuna attended classes and learned the layout of the academy. The subjects were interesting, covering everything from galactic history to advanced science. She sat in the back of each room and took careful notes. She did not speak unless a teacher asked her a direct question. She did not draw attention to herself. Other students watched her sometimes. She could feel their eyes on her back, heavy with curiosity and fear. The word had spread quickly that a Deathworlder was among them. Some students changed direction when they saw her coming. Others whispered behind their hands. A few brave ones nodded to her in greeting. Yuna accepted all of this without complaint. She understood. Earth's reputation was not a lie. Her planet really was dangerous. Her species really had evolved to survive things that would kill most aliens in seconds. She could not blame them for being cautious, but she hoped, in time, they would see the truth. She was not here to hurt anyone. She was not here to prove how tough humans were. She was just a girl who wanted to learn and make friends and live a quiet life. That was all she had ever wanted. At night, she lay in her bed and listened to Luna's soft breathing from across the room. Outside the window, artificial stars glowed in the station ceiling. Everything was calm. Everything was safe. For the first time in 19 years, Yuna Park slept without fear. She did not know that her peaceful days were numbered. She did not know that somewhere in the academy, a monster was already watching her. A monster who saw her quietness as weakness, her kindness as stupidity, her patience as an invitation. But she would learn soon enough, and when she did, the entire academy would learn something too. Something important about the difference between being peaceful and being harmless. Yuna Park was peaceful. She had never been harmless. Yuna noticed him on her third day at the academy. It was hard not to notice someone like Dorak. He stood almost 8 feet tall with dark red scales covering his entire body. 4 muscular arms hung at his sides, each one ending in clawed fingers. His eyes were black and cold, like stones at the bottom of a frozen lake. When he walked through the hallways, other students moved out of his way. When he spoke, everyone listened. Dorak was a Krell, a species known for their strength and aggression. His family owned weapons factories across 12 star systems. His father sat on important councils. His mother had connections to powerful politicians. At the academy, Dorak acted like he owned the place. And in many ways, he did. Yuna watched him from a distance at first. She saw how he moved through crowds, how he took whatever seat he wanted, how he interrupted teachers without consequence. She saw the group of followers who trailed behind him like shadows. There was Pip, a nervous four-armed villain who laughed too loudly at Dorak's jokes. There was Moss, a huge gray creature called a Gron, who rarely spoke but cracked his knuckles whenever Dorak looked at someone with anger. And there was Vera, a Theshan female with sharp features and a sharper tongue, who spread rumors and destroyed reputations with whispered words. Together, they ruled the academy through fear. Yuna learned all of this by watching and listening. She ate her meals quietly and paid attention to conversations around her. She heard stories about students who had challenged Dorak and been humiliated. She heard about broken bones and shattered confidence. She heard about complaints that went nowhere because Dorak's family donated too much money to the academy. "Just stay away from him," Luna warned her one evening. They were in their room studying for an exam. "Dorak targets new students, especially ones who are different. If you keep your head down, he might leave you alone." "What does he do to them?" Yuna asked. Luna's green skin turned a shade paler. "He likes to make people feel small. He insults them in public. Sometimes he gets physical. He pushed a chitter student against a wall last month and broke his wings. The chitter did nothing wrong. He just looked at Dorak the wrong way." Yuna thought about this. On Earth, there were bullies too. She had known some in her school before she left. But on Earth, bullies faced consequences. Other humans stepped in. Teachers took action. The community protected its members. Here, it seemed different. Here, power protected the powerful. Why does no one stop him? Yuna asked. "Because they are afraid," Luna said simply. "And because the academy pretends the problem does not exist. It is easier to ignore a monster than to fight one." The next day, Yuna saw the monster in action. She was walking to her afternoon class when she heard a commotion near the garden. A small crowd had gathered, forming a loose circle around something. Yuna moved closer and looked over the heads of shorter students to see what was happening. Dorak stood in the center of the circle. His forearms were crossed over his chest, and a cruel smile stretched across his scaled face. In front of him, pressed against the wall, was the smallest alien Yuna had ever seen. It was a chitter, an insectoid species with delicate wings and thin limbs. This one was trembling so badly that its wings made a buzzing sound. Its large compound eyes reflected pure terror. Yuna remembered what Luna had said about the chitter with broken wings. She wondered if this was the same one. "I asked you a question," Dorak said loudly. His voice carried across the garden. "Are you stupid as well as ugly?" The chitter made a clicking sound that might have been words. Yuna could not understand the language, but she understood the tone. It was pleading. "Speak properly," Dorak demanded. "Use galactic standard like a civilized creature." "Oh, wait, I forgot. Your kind are barely civilized at all." The crowd laughed nervously. Some students looked uncomfortable, but no one moved to help. No one spoke up. They all just watched like it was entertainment. Dorak reached out with one of his upper arms and grabbed the chitter by its throat. He lifted the small creature off the ground with no effort at all. The chitter's legs kicked uselessly in the air. "Maybe if I squeeze hard enough, you will learn to speak properly," Dorak said. Yuna felt something stir inside her chest. It was a feeling she knew well, a feeling that had kept her ancestors alive for millions of years. It was the feeling that came before violence. The animal part of her brain was waking up, identifying a threat, preparing her body to fight. She pushed the feeling down. She took a deep breath. She reminded herself that she was here to learn, not to fight. She was here to prove that humans could be peaceful, but she did not look away. Dorak squeezed the chitter's throat for a few more seconds, then dropped the creature to the ground. The chitter collapsed in a heap, gasping for air. Its wings were crumpled and bent. It made a sound that was unmistakably crying. "Remember this lesson," Doric said to the crowd. "Know your place. Stay out of my way. And never, ever look at me without permission." He turned and walked away. Moss and Pip followed immediately. Vera lingered for a moment, looking down at the crying chitter with disgust before joining the others. The crowd began to break apart. Students hurried away, not wanting to be associated with the scene. Within minutes, only Yuna and the chitter remained. Yuna walked over and knelt beside the small creature. Up close, she could see that its exoskeleton was scratched and damaged. One of its wings had a new tear in the membrane. "Are you hurt badly?" Yuna asked softly. The chitter looked up at her with those huge compound eyes. For a moment, fear flashed across its face. Then recognition. It had heard about the human Deathworlder. Everyone had. "You are the Earth Girl," it said. Its voice was high and clicking, but understandable. "My name is Yuna. What is yours?" "I am called Click." The chitter tried to stand but wobbled. Yuna reached out and steadied it with gentle hands. "Why are you helping me?" Everyone else walked away. Yuna considered the question. She could give many answers. She could talk about right and wrong, about kindness and cruelty. But she decided on the truth. "Because I know what it feels like to be small and scared," she said. "And because someone should help you. So I will." Click stared at her for a long moment. Then the chitter made a sound that might have been a laugh. "You are strange, Earth Girl. The stories say your kind are violent killers. But you are gentle." "We can be both," Yuna said. "That is what makes us human." She helped Click to the medical center. The doctors there fixed the torn wing and treated the scratches. They asked what happened, and Click told them about falling from a height. They did not believe it, but they did not push for the truth. Everyone knew how things worked at the academy. That night, Yuna lay in bed and thought about what she had seen. The cruelty, the cowardice, the way everyone had watched and done nothing. It made her angry in a deep and quiet way. But she reminded herself that anger was dangerous. Anger led to violence. Violence led to consequences. She had come to the academy to escape the endless struggle of Earth, not to create new struggles. She would stay calm. She would stay patient. She would keep her head down and hope that Doric never noticed. Her thought it was a good plan, but plans rarely survive contact with monsters, and Doric had already noticed. The quiet human girl who had helped his victim. He had watched from a window above the garden as she knelt beside the chitter. He had seen the lack of fear in her eyes dot in his mind. He was already planning her humiliation. The Deathworlder would learn her place, just like everyone else. 3 weeks passed. Yuna fell into a routine. She woke early, attended classes, studied in the library, ate meals with Luna, and slept without dreams. It was the most peaceful time of her life. She also made friends. Click became her constant companion. The small chitter followed her everywhere, grateful for her kindness in the garden. At first, other students avoided them both. Being friends with the Deathworlder and the bullied insect was not a popular choice. But slowly, others joined their small group. Marcus Cole was a human veteran with one eye and many scars. He had served in the Earth Defense Force for 10 years before retiring to teach at the academy. He was old by human standards, nearly 50, and he carried himself with the quiet confidence of someone who had survived terrible things. "You remind me of myself when I was young," Marcus told Yuna one day. They were sitting in the cafeteria, eating a meal that tasted like nothing from Earth. Calm on the outside, volcano on the inside. "I am not a volcano," Yuna said. Marcus smiled with his remaining eye. "Sure you are not." Sora was a Velen engineer, distant cousin to the species of Administrator Trosses and the bully's follower Pip. But unlike Pip, Sora was kind and honest. She had been bullied by Dorak for years because of her small size and her stutter. When she saw Yuna defend Click, she found the courage to approach. "You are not afraid of him," Sora said the first time they met. "I wish I was not afraid." "Fear is normal," Yuna told her. "Being afraid does not make you weak. It makes you smart. Only stupid creatures feel no fear." Sora had smiled at that. It was a small smile, but it was real. Together, the five of them became a strange little family. The human girl, the insect, the veteran, the engineer, and the amphibian. They ate meals together, studied together, and watched out for each other. For a while, Yuna let herself believe that maybe Dorak had forgotten about her dot. She was wrong. The attacks started small. A shoulder check in the hallway that sent Yuna stumbling into a wall. She caught herself easily, her body adjusting automatically to the impact. Earth's gravity was heavier than the station's, so her bones were dense and her muscles were strong. The check that would have knocked down most species barely moved her, but she pretended it did. She stumbled, she looked away, and she kept walking. She did not want trouble. Dorak noticed her lack of reaction. It bothered him. The next attack was verbal. In the middle of a lecture on galactic politics, Dorak spoke loudly from his seat in the back row. "Teacher, why are we learning about diplomacy? Deathworlders like that human girl do not understand diplomacy. They only understand violence. They evolved to fight because they are too stupid to think." Everyone turned to look at Yuna. She kept her eyes on her notes. Her hand did not stop writing. Her face showed no emotion. The teacher, an elderly Theshan with tired eyes, cleared his throat nervously. "Please keep your comments relevant to the lesson, Student Dorak." "I am being relevant," Dorak said. "How can we discuss galactic peace when we allow walking weapons to sit in our classrooms?" Some students laughed. Others shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Yuna continued taking notes. After class, Marcus found her in the hallway. "You should have said something. You should have defended yourself." "Why?" Yuna asked. "What would that accomplish?" "It would show him that you are not afraid." "I am not afraid. But I'm also not stupid. If I react to his words, he wins. If I fight back physically, I prove that everything he said about humans is true. The only way to beat someone like Dorak is to refuse to play his game." Marcus shook his head. "That philosophy might work on Earth. Here, it just makes you look weak. And weakness invites more attacks." He was right. The attacks increased. Vera spread rumors that humans carried deadly diseases. Students began avoiding Yuna in the hallways, pressing against walls to stay far from her. The medical center received 3 complaints from students claiming they felt sick after being near the Deathworlder. The complaints were false, but the damage was done. Moss began blocking doorways whenever Yuna tried to pass. His huge gray body filled entire corridors. She had to squeeze past him, pressing against walls, while he breathed heavily and cracked his knuckles. He never touched her. He did not have to. The threat was clear. Pip poured cleaning fluid on Yuna's assignments. The liquid was mildly corrosive, designed to dissolve certain materials. It destroyed 3 weeks of careful work in seconds. The teacher accepted Yuna's explanation and gave her extra time to redo the assignments, but the message had been delivered. Through all of this, Yuna stayed calm. She rewrote her assignments. She squeezed past Moss without complaint. She ignored the students who avoided her. She did not react, did not fight back, did not give Dorak what he wanted. Her friends were amazed and frustrated in equal measure. "How can you stand it?" Click asked one evening. They were in Yuna's room, all 5 of them gathered for a study session. "He hurts you every day, and you do nothing." "I do many things," Yuna said. I study. I learn. I spend time with my friends. I enjoy the peace of this station. She smiled. Not reacting to Doric is not doing nothing. It is choosing what to spend my energy on. But you could stop him, Marcus said. I have seen humans fight. I have seen what they can do. One word from you, one demonstration of strength, and Doric would never bother you again. Or he would bring more friends. Or his family would make my life difficult in ways I cannot fight against. Or the academy would expel me for violence. Yuna shook her head. Fighting is not always the answer. Sometimes patience is stronger than fists. Luna looked at her roommate with curious eyes. Do you ever want to fight him? Deep down, in your heart? Yuna was quiet for a long moment. The question touched something she did not like to examine. The truth was complicated. I will show you something, she said finally. But you must promise to keep it secret. Her friends promised. Yuna led them to the training room late that night, when the academy was asleep and the halls were empty. The room was large, filled with exercise equipment and combat dummies designed to withstand strikes from strong species. Watch, Yuna said. She took a position in front of a dummy. For a moment, she stood perfectly still. Then she moved. Luna had never seen anything like it. The human girl flowed like water, striking the dummy with hands and feet and elbows and knees. Each strike was precise, targeting specific points on the dummy's body. Joints, throat, temples, nerve clusters. In less than 10 seconds, the dummy was destroyed. Yuna stood among the pieces, not even breathing hard. On Earth, she said quietly, we learn to fight before we learn to speak. Our world wants to kill us every moment of every day. We survive because we are better at killing than everything else. She looked at her friends with calm eyes. I could break every bone in Doric's body. I could kill him before he understood what was happening. I know exactly where to strike a Krell to stop their heart. Click made a frightened clicking sound. Even Marcus looked uncomfortable. But that is exactly why I do not fight, Yuna continued. Because I know what I am capable of. I know the darkness inside me. Every human does. We have spent our entire history learning to control our violent instincts. We build civilizations and write poetry and create art because we need to prove to ourselves that we are more than killers. She knelt down and began cleaning up the broken dummy. I do not fight Doric because I am afraid of losing. I do not fight because I am afraid of winning. I am afraid of what I might become if I let myself enjoy it. The room was silent. Finally, Luna spoke. You are the scariest person I have ever met, she said softly, and also the kindest. I do not understand how both things can be true. Yuna smiled sadly. That is what it means to be human. We are both things always. The choice is which one we feed. She finished cleaning and stood up. Her friends looked at her with new eyes. Not with fear, exactly. With understanding, they walked back to their rooms in silence. None of them spoke about what they had seen. None of them needed to, but all of them knew one thing for certain. If Doric ever pushed Yuna too far, the results would be catastrophic. They could only hope that day would never come. The breaking point came on a Thursday. Yuna woke that morning feeling strange. There was a tightness in her chest, a feeling like static electricity under her skin. On Earth, her grandmother would have called it a warning, a sign that something bad was coming. Yuna ignored it. She was a scientist, not a superstitious person. She got dressed, attended her morning classes, and met her friends in the courtyard for lunch. Everything was normal. The artificial sun shone down from the station ceiling. Students walked past in groups, talking and laughing. Birds that were not really birds sang in trees that were not really trees. You seem tense, Luna said, offering Yuna a piece of fruit from her tray. I am fine, Yuna said. But she kept looking around, scanning the courtyard like she was searching for predators. Old habits from Earth did not die easily. Click was telling a story about his home planet, a small world covered in crystal forests. His mandibles clicked rapidly as he described the way sunlight fractured through the trees, creating rainbows that lasted for hours. Sora listened with wide eyes, her stutter forgotten in her fascination. Marcus ate silently, his one good eye watching the crowds with the practiced alertness of a soldier. Yuna saw them first. Dark and his followers were walking across the courtyard, heading straight for their table. The Krell's black eyes were fixed on Yuna with an intensity she had not seen before. His forearms hung loose at his sides, claws slightly extended. Behind him, Moss cracked his knuckles. Vera smiled like a knife. Only Pip looked nervous, his eyes darting around like he wished he was somewhere else. "Trouble," Marcus said quietly. "Stay calm," Yuna said. "Do not react. Maybe he will pass by." He did not pass by. Dorak stopped directly in front of their table. His shadow fell across the food, blocking out the artificial sunlight. Up close, he was even more terrifying than usual. His scales seemed darker, his muscles more defined. He looked like a predator that had finally cornered its prey. "The Death Worlder and her collection of defects," Dorak announced loudly. His voice echoed across the courtyard. Students at nearby tables turned to watch. How touching. The broken ones always find each other. Yuna looked up at him. Her face was calm, her eyes steady. She felt the animal part of her brain stirring, but she pushed it down. Control. Always control. "Can I help you with something?" she asked politely. Dorak laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. "You can help me understand why you think you belong here. Your species is barely civilized. You come from a planet so broken that your own bodies are weapons. You breathe poison. You drink acid. You hunt things by chasing them until their hearts explode." He leaned closer. "And yet you sit here, pretending to be one of us. Pretending to be peaceful. Pretending to be harmless." "I am not pretending anything," Yuna said. "I am just trying to eat my lunch." "Lunch?" Dorak's upper right hand shot out with terrifying speed. He grabbed Click by the throat and lifted the small chitter off the bench. Click's wings buzzed in panic, his thin legs kicking uselessly in the air. "Is this your lunch? This pathetic insect?" Something changed in Yuna's eyes. Luna saw it happen. The calm was still there, but underneath it, something ancient and dangerous had woken up. "Let them go," Yuna said. Her voice had not risen. Her posture had not changed. But Marcus felt the hair on his arms stand up. He had heard that tone before, in soldiers who were about to do something terrible. Dorak squeezed Click harder. The chitter made a sound of pain that cut through the courtyard like a blade. "Or what?" Dorak asked. "You will write me a strongly worded letter? You will complain to the administration? You will run away like the coward you are?" "I am asking politely," Yuna said. Once, the courtyard had gone silent. Every student was watching now. Even teachers on nearby walkways had stopped to observe. Something was happening, something that felt different from Dorak's usual bullying. "Politely?" Dorak laughed again. Erect again. He squeezed Click even harder. The chitter's exoskeleton began to crack. Deathworlders do not know the meaning of the word. You are all just animals wearing clothes. Monsters pretending to be people. You do not deserve to breathe the same air as civilized species. Click was crying now, a high-pitched keening sound that hurt to hear. Their wings were bent at wrong angles. Their legs had stopped kicking. "You have 3 seconds to release my friend," Yuna said. Her voice was perfectly calm. Her body was perfectly still. But something about her had changed. She seemed larger somehow, more present, like the space around her had compressed to focus entirely on this moment. too. Dorak's followers exchanged nervous glances. Moss took a step back. Vera's smile had disappeared. Even Pip looked like he wanted to run. Something was wrong with this situation. The human should be scared. She should be backing down. Instead, she was counting. "You stupid little," Dorak began. 1. Dorak threw Click aside and lunged at Yuna with all 4 arms extended, claws aimed at her face. He was fast, faster than anything his size should be. His species were apex predators on their own world. He had won dozens of fights. He had never lost. He lost now. Yuna moved. Not backward, not sideways, but forward, directly into his attack. Before his arms could close around her, she was inside his reach, too close for his claws to find purchase. Her palm struck his throat with a sound like a hammer hitting meat. Her knee found the nerve cluster on his inner thigh. Her elbow cracked against his temple. 3 strikes. Less than 2 seconds. Dorak's massive body crumpled like his strings had been cut. But Yuna was not finished. She caught one of his upper arms as he fell, twisted it at an angle that made Moss look away in horror, and used Dorak's own weight to flip him onto his face. Then she was on his back, one hand gripping his jaw, the other braced against the back of his skull. Everyone in the courtyard understood the position. One sharp motion and his neck would snap. The Krell would be dead before he hit the ground. The silence was absolute. No one moved. No one breathed. "I grew up on Earth," Yuna said. Her voice was steady, conversational, as if she was discussing the weather. "Do you know what that means?" "It means I learned to kill things that wanted to eat me before I learned to read. It means my bones are 3 times denser than yours. My muscles have more fibers. My reflexes are faster. My pain tolerance is higher." She adjusted her grip slightly. Dorak made a whimpering sound. "My species hunted animals 10 times our size. We did not use claws or teeth or poison. We just chased them. We chased them until their hearts exploded from exhaustion. We are endurance predators. We do not stop. We never stop." She leaned closer to his ear. "Every single day since I arrived here, I have chosen not to hurt you. I chose peace. I chose patience. I chose to believe that you were better than your worst instincts. I let you insult me. I let you humiliate me. I let you destroy my work and block my path and spread lies about my people." Her grip tightened. Dorak's whimper became a moan of terror. "But you touched my friend. You hurt Click. You made them cry." Yuna's voice dropped to a whisper. "And now you need to understand something very clearly. The only reason you are still alive is because I am still choosing. I am choosing right now, in this moment, not to kill you." She held the position for 5 more seconds. 10. 15. The entire academy watched and waited. Then she let go. Dorak scrambled backward on all 4 arms, his body shaking uncontrollably. His scales had turned a sickly pale color. His black eyes were wide with a terror that everyone recognized, but none had ever seen on his face before. Vera ran first. Then Pip. Even Moss turned and fled, his huge body moving faster than anyone thought possible. Within seconds, Dorak was alone, surrounded by a circle of students who were looking at him with something that was not fear, it was contempt. Yuna stood up slowly. She brushed off her clothes and walked over to where Click lay on the ground. She knelt beside her friend and checked their injuries with gentle fingers. "Are you okay?" she asked softly. Click's mandibles clicked weakly. You could have killed him. Yes, but you did not." Yuna helped Click sit up. She cradled the small chitter against her chest like something precious. Her eyes were calm again, the ancient predator retreating back into its cage. "That is the whole point," she said. "Being strong enough to kill is not special. Everything can kill. Accidents kill. Diseases kill. Time kills. She looked at her friends, at Luna and Marcus and Sora, at the hundreds of students watching in stunned silence. Being strong enough to choose not to kill, even when you want to, even when you have every right to, that is what makes us human. She carried Click toward the medical center. The crowd parted before her like water. No one spoke. No one dared. Behind her, Dark remained on the ground, surrounded by the ruins of his reputation. He had wanted to break the Death Worlder. Instead, she had broken him. The aftermath was complicated. Security officers arrived within minutes. They sealed the courtyard, interviewed witnesses, and reviewed footage from the station's cameras. Administrator Trosses appeared with a team of lawyers and medical professionals. Dorak was taken to the medical center, though his injuries were more psychological than physical. Yuna was escorted to a waiting room where she sat for 3 hours. Alone with her thoughts, she did not regret what she had done. She only regretted that it had been necessary. The investigation lasted a week. Dorak's family screamed for punishment. They demanded Yuna's expulsion. They threatened lawsuits and political consequences. They called her a monster, a savage, a danger to civilized society. They demanded that humans be banned from the Academy forever. The Academy reviewed the evidence carefully. The footage was clear. Dorak had approached Yuna's table without provocation. He had grabbed Click and caused visible harm. He had issued verbal threats. He had thrown Click aside and attacked Yuna with obvious intent to injure or kill. Everything Yuna had done was in response to his actions. The ruling came on a Friday morning. Administrator Trosses delivered it personally, standing in front of Yuna and her gathered friends. The Academy has determined that student Yuna Park acted in proportional defense of herself and her companion, Trosses said. His 4 hands were shaking slightly. The contact was initiated by student Dorak. The defensive response was effective but controlled. No permanent harm was caused to the aggressor. No charges will be filed. Yuna nodded. Thank you. Trosses hesitated. He looked at the human girl with those large yellow eyes, and Yuna saw something new in them. Not fear, respect. For what it is worth, he said quietly, many of us are glad you showed restraint. What you could have done, what you chose not to do, it has changed how some of us think about your species. He left without another word. Things were different after that. Dorak did not disappear. His family's money and connections kept him enrolled at the Academy. But he was not the same. He walked through hallways with his head down, his shoulders hunched. His forearms stayed close to his body, as if he was trying to make himself smaller. When he saw humans, he flinched. When he saw Yuna, he changed direction entirely. His followers scattered like leaves in the wind. Vera transferred to a different academy within a month. Pip started sitting alone at meals, avoiding everyone's eyes. Moss approached Yuna one day, his huge gray body trembling with nervousness, and apologized in a voice barely above a whisper. I knew it was wrong, he said. I knew he was hurting people. I did not know how to stop. I am sorry. Yuna looked at him for a long moment. She saw a creature who had made bad choices, who had followed a leader because it was easier than standing alone. She understood that kind of weakness. She had seen it on Earth, in humans who joined groups that did terrible things because they were afraid to be outsiders. You can choose differently now, she said. That is what matters. Moss nodded. He never bothered anyone again. More changes followed. Students who had been silent before began speaking up. A group of Veshans formed a committee to address bullying. The academy hired a counselor specifically for students who had been victims of harassment. Teachers began watching more closely, intervening earlier, refusing to look away. None of this happened because of rules or policies. It happened because a small human girl had shown the entire academy what true strength looked like. Yuna's circle of friends grew. The Gran, who had been bullied for years, asked her to teach him self-defense. Not to hurt others, he said, but to feel less helpless. Yuna agreed, and soon she was running informal training sessions in the practice room 3 times a week. She taught strikes and blocks and holds, but mostly she taught philosophy. Fighting is the last option, she told her students. You fight only when all other choices have failed. You fight only to protect, never to dominate. And when you do fight, you fight to end the conflict as quickly as possible, with as little harm as possible. What if the other person does not stop? A young Velen asked. Then you make them stop, Yuna said simply. But you give them every chance to choose peace first. Luna found her on the observation deck one night, weeks after the courtyard incident. The artificial stars glowed softly above them. Ships moved between the lights like slow fireflies. Can I ask you something? Luna said. Of course. When you had him pinned, Doric, were you really going to do it? Break his neck? Yuna was silent for a long time. She watched a ship drift past, carrying passengers to distant worlds. She thought about the moment in the courtyard, the feeling of Doric's skull in her hands, the animal hunger that had risen inside her. On Earth we have a saying, she said finally. Speak softly and carry a big stick. It means that true strength is not about violence. It is about having the capacity for violence and choosing, deliberately, to seek peace instead. She turned to face Luna. If he had truly hurt Click, not threatened, not scared, but actually hurt them badly, I honestly do not know what I would have done. And that uncertainty scares me more than Doric ever could. Luna considered this. So you are not fearless. No, I am terrified of what I am capable of. Every human is. Yuna looked at her hands, the hands that could heal or kill with equal ease. We evolved as persistence predators. Our ancestors would chase prey across entire continents, following them for days until their hearts gave out from exhaustion. We are built for violence in ways most species cannot imagine. She looked back at the stars. That is why we work so hard to choose peace. Because we know, better than anyone, what the alternative costs. Every war in human history taught us the same lesson. Violence destroys everyone, winners and losers alike. The only true victory is avoiding the fight entirely. Luna moved closer and stood beside her friend. You are the strangest creature I have ever known, she said. Terrifying and gentle at the same time. I still do not understand how you can be both. Yuna smiled. It was a real smile, warm and sad and human. Maybe that is the most human thing of all. We are contradictions. We are capable of incredible cruelty and incredible kindness, sometimes in the same breath. The struggle is choosing which one to be moment by moment, every day of our lives. And which one do you choose? Kindness, Yuna said. Always kindness. Until kindness is no longer an option. Then I choose to protect the people I love, whatever the cost. The months passed. Yuna continued her studies. She attended classes, earned high marks, made more friends. She became known throughout the academy as someone special, not because of her strength, but because of her wisdom. Students came to her with problems, with questions, with fears. She listened to all of them. She helped when she could. Click's wings healed completely. The small chitter became one of the best students in the xenobiology program. They often told the story of the day in the courtyard, how the gentle human girl had transformed into something ancient and deadly, how she had held a monster's life in her hands and chosen to let him live. She could have killed him, Click always said, but she did not. That is the lesson. Power means nothing if you do not know when to use it and when to hold it back. Marcus retired from teaching and returned to Earth. Before he left, he found Una in the garden and shook her hand. "You did good," he said. "Better than most soldiers I have known. You understood something it took me 30 years to learn." "What is that?" "The strongest warriors are the ones who make fighting unnecessary. They do not win by destroying enemies. They win by turning enemies into friends. Or at least into people who know better than to start trouble." He smiled with his one good eye. "Earth is proud of you, Una Park. We all are." Years later, when Una had graduated and begun her career as a xenobiologist, she sometimes thought about that day in the courtyard. She thought about Dorak's terror, about Click's broken wings, about the choice she had made in that frozen moment. She had chosen mercy. She had chosen restraint. She had chosen to be human in the best sense of the word. And somewhere in the galaxy, a Krell with a bruised ego and a nearly broken neck was living proof that even monsters could be given a second chance. That, Una believed, was the true power of humanity. Not the ability to destroy, the ability to spare. The end.